Good afternoon to everybody. I'm recording now Erev Yom Yerushalaim, which will start in a couple of hours. And I'd like to dedicate this short Vat Torah instead of to Parsha Tashavua to Yom Yerushalaim. There's a very interesting Gemara in Mishnah in Masechet Kedushin. There the Gemara says that there were 10 measures of beauty that came down to the world, and of those 10, none were given or none were taken by Yerushalayim. And I'd just like to maybe offer an explanation. What does that mean? That Yerushalayim, Yefei Nofetz is called. It's called the beauty of the world. In what way is it Yerushalayim so beautiful? I mean, when you look at certain countries, you can see that what defines their beauty is obviously the landscape. You look at places like America, the magnificent canyon, the incredible forests. You look at Switzerland, the magnificent Alps, which are so awe-inspiring, places like Kathmandu, beautiful beaches and seas. But to say that Yerushalayim, what exactly is beautiful about the landscape, what makes it so charming, that to say that 90% of all the beauty that came down to cities was received by Yerushalayim, and the rest of the world only like one kav, one measure. So as I say, I'd like to, there's a lot to speak about this. I'd like to maybe just suggest one explanation, and it's on the basis of another Gemara, which is also difficult, and the Gemara is in Masechet Brachot, and it relates the following story. The story is about Rabbi Yochanan who went to visit someone, one of the Amorim who was sick, and he came to the house, and the house was very dark. And what he happened to do was he lifted his sleeve, and because Rabbi Yochanan was so beautiful, and his skin was so magnificent that his skin shone, and it lit up the whole room. And then the Gemara relates that Rabbi Eliezer started to cry, and Rabbi Yochanan was trying to comfort him. He said to him, "Why are you crying? I mean, if you're crying because you feel that you haven't learned enough Torah, so then it says," he quoted him a statement in the Talmud which says, if a person learns a lot, if a person learns a little, as long as he's mechaveh in dibor l'shamayim, as long as he did his maximum and he intended now to fulfill the mitzvah of Talmud Torah as is, if it's a little bit more, a little bit less, that's okay. And if he said you're crying because you weren't too rich, so he said, well, that's not something to cry about, because you can't expect to be a Talmid Chacham and to be rich at the same time. He says only very few, one or two Talmidei Chachamim are those who are zocher, that they merit two shulchanot, two tables, the table of wealth and the table of spirituality, of Torah. So you can't expect that, correct? You suffered a certain amount as a Talmid Chacham, but that's the price that you pay if that's what you, to get to that level of spiritual development of being a Talmid Chacham. And then he spoke to him about, and if it's because of certain calamities that happened to children, he said it happened to my children as well. So in the end, Rabbi Eliezer says, you know what? No, I'll tell you the reason that I'm crying. I'm crying because when I see now this beautiful skin of yours, and I see that what's going to come of it. You go to the grave, and then all of this shine, all of this luster, and this beauty is for nothing. So it's going to be all consumed. So it's something which is very sad, and I'm going to cry. That's why I'm crying. And then it says in the Talmud that they both cried. So the Maharsha over there, in his comments to this Gemara, he said, well, what's going on over here? On children, you don't cry. because of a certain, because they've, chas v'chalila, something happened to them. On wealth, which a person missed out on, you don't cry. On maybe a limited amount, a limitation of the knowledge that a person got, you don't cry. But on the beauty, that's what you cry about. Where's the sense of proportion? So what the Parsha explains is like this: Rabbi Yochanan was known as one of the most beautiful and handsome men in the world, and he was a person who lived in Yerushalayim, and he was part then of the beauty of Yerushalayim. And therefore the Parsha says that when they were crying, it wasn't that they were just crying about the beauty of Rabbi Yochanan, which would be lost, but there'd something be about the beauty of Yerushalayim that is expressed and manifests through Rabbi Yochanan that no longer will be there. And this is what I think that the Gemara in Masechet Kedushin is also saying, is that part of the beauty of a country is not only the landscape. Part of the beauty of a place is that what type of people they are. Many times people say, you know what, I went to such and such a place, but it wasn't. The people are so obnoxious over there, they're so arrogant, they're so unfriendly, this and that takes away from the beauty of the place. So when we speak about the Gemara, about Masechet Kedushin, that the 9 measures of beauty, of course it goes about, it's going to speak about in the future, about the beautiful architecture that is in Yerushalayim, the charm of Yerushalayim, the spirituality of Yerushalayim, but part also of the people who occupy Yerushalayim. And especially the people who are like tzaddikim, the people who are all serve Hashem, which Yerushalayim is so well known for, because that the people always who are illustrious people, that is what gives the beauty, or one of the factors at least, maybe even a major factor, which is responsible for the great beauty and the charm of Yerushalayim. And in this way, I'd like to end off that this ties up, is connected to a very interesting explanation, a fascinating explanation of the Sefer HaChinuch, which I think we have to go into it another time, but I'll just say to you, in Bekitzur, we know that one of the obligations that applied even today is that a person has to redeem. He has to redeem some of his, whatever food he's got. Well, there's certain types of foods, right? Fruits and vegetables. So a certain amount have to go to the Kohen, 10% have to go to the Levi, and then there's another 10%, which is called Ma'aser Sheni, which on the 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th years of the Shemitah cycle have to be taken and eaten in Yerushalayim. And if they belong to they don't have to be given to anyone. They belong to a person, to the owner. And then what they do is, but that amount of food, that 10% of that food of his crops, he has to eat in Yerushalayim. And today this still applies. When we buy produce from the marketplace, if Ma'aser Sheni, what we have to do is we have to poide on it, we have to redeem it if we don't want to take it to Shalom on a nominal amount, and that nominal amount then we take to Shalom and we buy food in Yerushalayim. And the Chinuch says, what is the point of this mitzvah? So he quotes the pasuk itself that says that the point of the mitzvah is that when a person goes to Yerushalayim with his Ma'aser Sheni and he eats the food there, he'll be filled with Yirat Hashem. And the Chinuch then proceeds to ask, in what way is going to Yerushalayim, how does it fill a person with Yirat Hashem, with Shirat Shamayim, with the awe of heaven? So he says, you know what, when you go to Yerushalayim, and especially in times of old, when everything was, all the industries, all the shops, all the products, all the business, they all were centered around the Avodat Beit HaMikdash. And that showed on the people. And when a person came in to visit Yerushalayim, he was struck by the beauty of the people. Beauty not in the spiritual sense, not only, as we said before, in the physical sense, but the way he saw the way the people conducted themselves. with holiness, with a sense of awe, with the way that they davened, the way that they learned, the way that everything was centered around the Beit HaMikdash. And this filled a person with Yirat Shamayim, with the awe and inspiration of heaven. And the Mincha Chinuch actually adds that when you think of it, a person, he would have to, in order to eat that amount of food, he'd have to spend 36 days of the 10% of his food as now belongs to him, and he has to go and eat in Yerushalayim. So let's call that 10% equivalent to 10% of a year, so 36 days. 36 days he'd have to go now and eat that produce in Yerushalayim. So this is something that we can apply to ourselves today, that if we want to be attached to Yerushalayim, we want to be connected to Yerushalayim, well, first and foremost, we have to go to Yerushalayim. 36 days of our year we should spend in Yerushalayim, right? Isn't that what emerges, at least on some level, from the Sefer HaChinuch? In order to be attached to Yerushalayim, to first and foremost go and be in Yerushalayim, be connected a little bit, go to the Kotel, walk around in Yerushalayim, go to to see special sites in Yerushalayim, take an interest in Shalom, just by, first of all, besides learning the history and everything else, just to be there, the physical presence. Not to go there once or twice a year over Sukkot and over Pesach, let's say, for Birkat Kohanim, but it's 36 days, 6 days, we should try and be in Yerushalayim. So to sum up what we said Yerushalayim has got the beauty of Yerushalayim is mamash. The charm of Yerushalayim is something which was given to Yerushalayim by Kodesh Baruch Hu in a tremendous measure. And we start to explain that the measure of the beauty of Yerushalayim is not only in its landscape or in its architecture, which Vadai is going to be now a little bit, and how much more so in the time of the Beit HaMikdash. The main structure, the beauty that everyone went to see is not like the Havdi or the pyramids or the leaning some tower or like in Italy or whatever, but the Beit HaMikdash, that itself would be beauty, but we added on the beauty of the people, the physical beauty of the people, the spiritual way in which they conducted themselves. That's what made it such a beautiful and such a magnificent place. And that's what also we added on, that to appreciate that beauty, one just has to be there. That was the whole point of the mitzvah, Ma'aseh Sheni. Kadosh Baruch Hu should be Zakeh, that we should be able to be zocheh to the what the Navi says of Nei Shalayim Ira Kodesh B'Mara B'Yameinu, that it should be a binyan Shalayim, an absolute and complete building, and that we'll be zocheh to go up to Yerushalayim V'sham Na'avdotcha B'Yira Kimei Olam Uchshanim Kadmaniyot. Kol Tuv L'Kulam, and Yom Yerushalayim Sameach.